listening to the Narrative Podcast with Halsey Allen. The Narrative Podcast is changing the narrative one episode at a time.
Hello. Welcome to another full edition of the Narrative Podcast. The Narrative Podcast is the home of original people peace, original people reciprocity, and original people positivity. Welcome to the Narrative Podcast. Welcome all my narrators. I'm your host, Halsey Allen. All right. So, here we are back at it. So, as promised, I uploaded a second installment for the Narrative Podcast. Another weekday installment. So, staying true to my word. That's what I do. I'm consistent. Anything on this platform I say I'm going to do, I'm going to do it. So, but welcome to the Narrative Podcast. The Narrative Podcast promotes positive self-images about original people and original people culture. My narrators are my target listening audience. The people that tune in every day, every time I upload on a regular basis. They're already familiar with my platform. They already know what they're going to be listening to today, what type of things to expect on my format. But for new listeners unfamiliar with me or the Narrative Podcast, how I generally start things off is by walking you through with a brief overview of the Narrative Podcast. And that's what I'm kind of going to do today. I usually also, kind of just tap in, just like small talk, interpersonal, wanting to know how everybody's weekday went, what their plans are, that type of thing. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead on and dive right into the synopsis of the Narrative Podcast, starting at the top. Tippy, the name, the Narrative Podcast. I named my podcast the Narrative Podcast because I don't like the false narrative that the media weaves about original people and original people culture. So what I want to do to counter that is design a platform where I'm uplifting and edifying our people. And basically, the media intentionally misrepresents our people. They intentionally misrepresent our culture. So what I want to do on my platform is just to basically build us up, uplift us, edify us. This space is just basically what I'm doing is just promoting positive self-talk. That's basically the core function of the Narrative Podcast, is to promote positive self-talk about our people and our culture, because the media has normalized negativity and toxicity and degeneracy within our culture. So, what I'm attempting to do in this space is trying to reclaim our true essence and get back to you basically loving each other, man, being brothers and sisters, and agreeing to this, being adults enough to agree to disagree civilly and not air out our dirty laundry online. And mind you, we're not the only people that do air our dirty laundry out online, but we're the only people, that get it widely publicized. It's like everywhere. Every time we disagree online, it spreads like lightning. So or whatever the fastest measure of speed is. So, like anytime we do something within our community, it just spreads instantaneously. Whereas other people from other cultures, their grievances are never really dwelled on. Like, it's going to sound kind of callous and rude, but it's like the reason why nobody else dwells on their problems is because compared to our culture, they're boring. Like, we're the most exciting people in the world. Like, everybody wants to know about us. Everybody's fascinated with us. So yeah, that's basically the intention of the Narrative Podcast, is just be intentional with, promoting positivity and speaking positive things over our people and our culture, and playing up our strengths instead of our weaknesses, and just basically promoting us in a positive way. Which I think that's a perfect segue for my tagline, the Narrative Podcast, changing the narrative one episode at a time by destroying negative stereotypes about original people and original people culture. How do I destroy the negative stereotypes about our people and our culture? By providing positive frames of reference about our people and our culture. So, that's basically the core function of the Narrative Podcast, is to provide positive frames of reference about our people and our culture, and inspire anybody that listens to my platform to do the same, to become a narrator and share positive frames of reference about our people and our culture on whatever digital space that they occupy. So I'm not trying to be the content police or anything. I'm just, bringing up the perspective that our people, are always being looked at. We're always being scrutinized. So, the only frames of reference that people outside of our culture have about our people and our culture are negative frames of reference. It's like negative frames of reference in movies, television shows, literature, radio, all forms of media, all forms of literature, were always depicted negatively. So, that's just something to think about. People have already a negative preconceived notion about our people and our culture. So, why add on to the problem by feeding into the negative stereotypes and stigmas, which I think is the next segue into my next point about the Narrative Podcast. On this platform, I refer to our people, or my listeners, my listening audience, as my narrators. And so what I mean by a narrator is, it's really kind of a nod to the era that we're living in now. We're living in the digital information age. We do a whole lot of file sharing online. Basically all digital platforms have a wall that has status updates, or a section where you build your profile. So when you building your profile, you're just basically telling your story. So when somebody pulls up whatever page you're on, they get a little insight to you as an individual. So in essence, you're telling or narrating your own story. And when you tell or narrate your own story, of course you want to make yourself be the best you can possibly be. You don't, instinctively want to make yourself look like crap online. You want to play up, everything you do right, all the positive things going on in your life, all the things that you like to do. Like, there are some negative people that just, like posting negative stuff and hate everything, and, nothing's never good enough, and, teach their own. But for the most part, everybody that occupies a digital platform and has a profile, they load it up with good stuff. But whereas it comes to our people, original people, it seems like we embrace these negative stereotypes and stigmas that the media places over us. It seems like we embrace and regurgitate the negative images, often associated with our people, which is, criminalistic type images, violent images, degenerate images, like lazy images. Like, it seems like we're embracing the notion of thugs and gangbangers, criminals, just people that either, actively involved in selling drugs or using drugs, or, pimping, or engaging in amoral behavior, like on the female side of it, thought culture is celebrated, being a whore is celebrated, as it pertains to our people. Like, on the male side of it, being a criminal and being a degenerate is celebrated. Being a thug, not having any goals in life, not navigating, handling your responsibilities as a man, not moving with a sense of urgency in your life, engaging in criminalistic activity, gang banging, robbing, stealing, unaliving people. That's celebrated within our community on the male side of it. So what I'm saying with my podcast and the notion of becoming a narrator, why don't we just share, the true essence of who we truly are as a people? Why don't you use your platform to show the world the best possible version of yourself? Why don't we throw it back to, our true essence, our true nature? And what is our true essence, and what is our true nature as a people? The true essence and our true nature is being regal. Organically, we are kings and queens, gods and goddesses of the universe. So, like, pretty much, we civilized the entire world. Everything in the world began with us. And so our images and likenesses should always be held in that regard. That's how we should always be portrayed. So I'm not saying like be goody all the time and just think you can be positive every single day. Like, it's impossible to be positive every single day, but at least attempt to try to be positive, because like that's all we keep on getting bombarded with negativity. The media has normalized being negative within our community and has programmed and conditioned us into accepting the negativity and just like desensitizing us to it by constantly showing us at our worst, constantly showing us disenfranchised, constantly showing us engaged in criminal activity, constantly showing us, being on the losing end of a legal battle, like getting carted off to jail and losing everything. Like every single day, we don't ever catch a break from it. We're seeing it, hearing it, or reading it. So that's what I mean when I call my target audience, my narrators, a dedicated group of individuals, dedicated to putting out positive frames of reference about our people and our culture. So narrator, not to be confused with a moderator. When a moderator is somebody, once you have like a YouTube channel or a Facebook channel, that's somebody that regulates your channel and combs and sifts through policing your page or your channel for trolls, plans to, get your page or your channel demonetized or completely deleted. So I'm not saying moderator, I'm saying narrator. A narrator is somebody that tells a story, illustrates a story verbally. All right, so some more little mute points that I want to make about the media. The reason why they are dedicated into destroying our image is because the media is ran by the powers that be. Their first initial goal as a business is, of course, to make money, and nothing sells quicker than negativity. Negativity is the highest grossing product. It's always been, even before computers and even before newspapers, people just always want to see or hear the worst of something. Chaos is very addictive. But in addition to that, the media is controlled by a wicked entity, the powers that be. Who are the powers that be? The powers that be are, the higher echelon, the elite class, upper society, aka wealthy white people. And the reason why they thrive and exist, their purpose in the world is basically to say, I'm here, I'm extremely wealthy, I'm the best. I have all these status symbols. I have a mansion. I have an expensive car. I can afford, my own private jet. I have in my big giant house a staff of anywhere on upward from 2 to 5 people, or depending on if you're one of them big giant houses with the east wing and a west wing, a staff of probably 60 to 100 to maintain the house and the inside the house and outside the house. So that group of people are the ones that control the media. The reason why they want to control the media is because they want to place themselves at the pinnacle of society. They want to be the face of sophistication, refinement, culture, class, etiquette, being civilized, basically. Remember that old deodorant commercial where the tagline was, anything else is uncivilized? So basically, that's where they're trying to promote, if you're not earning 6 figures or better, you're uncivilized, you're a savage, you're a degenerate. you know, you're a loser in life. And, you know, they do that. You know, they want to program and condition everybody into, you know, the excess lifestyle. You know, they want to try to normalize and justify the need to want to buy highly priced items to validate who you are, to validate your financial wealth. And in reality, they're not even paying for all their status symbols. They're using credit and life insurance to get all these high class pricey things. They're not even using money, but they want to create that illusion that they just have this generational wealth. They're never going to run out of money. They're always going to be at the top of the heap. You know, they're always going to be important. They're always going to be running in exclusive, restricted circles, 5-star treatment, preferential treatment. You know, that's the world they live in. That's what they want to keep on promoting. You know, and they do it to everybody. They use the media, you know, to make everybody look a certain way if they're not a part of their exclusive club. But out of all the people they do it to, they do it to our people the most. And the reason why they do it to our people the most is because they fear our people the most. Because not only are they elite class society, they are historians, they're researchers. They know. Without no us, it could be no them. We are the source of their financial wealth. We are the source of their systemic power. There could be no systemic power structure anywhere in the world had it not been for us, had it not been for them being fearful of our natural, dominant, regal presence, you know, which triggered them to, you know, design systems in which to subjugate us and to, you know, not usurp our natural authority with nature, with our natural power. And the reason why they're so afraid of us is because we're so impactful and influential. Being original people, we are the beings on this planet most in tune with nature. We flow with the, you know, the natural order of nature. Just everything about us, how we're constructed, our DNA, our cells, you know, mimic, you know, just, you know, we are in sync with nature. And just like, you know, by nature, being in tune with nature, we just like, there's a whole lot of things you don't need to survive because they want to promote this excessive lifestyle. And, you know, being natural people, being natural born leaders, we're like, hey, I don't need a $1.3 million car to validate myself. I don't need, you know, a mansion with an east and a west wing to validate myself. I don't need to buy designer, European fashion designer clothes to validate myself. You know, I don't need status symbols to validate myself. But they do need status symbols to validate how important they are. And, you know, like I said, we're the most influential and impactful people in the world. And when we stop worshiping these status symbols and use our money to actually bring about change in the world, that the rest of the world would follow us and they would be obsolete. The world as they know it would crumble. You know, we are a threat to their power being usurped. So that's why they're so fearful of us, and they want to keep on perpetuating these negative images about our people. Like I said, they are natural historians. They are, they're aware of their history. They're aware of our history. They know we are the true rightful heirs to, everything in this world. And their biggest fear is that once we get over being at odds with each other, that we will unify and reclaim everything they've taken and everything they're currently taking from us, and do to them what they're doing and have done to us since their miserable, wicked existence. But it's an ill-gotten fear because that's not in our true nature as a people. It's not in our nature to oppress people. It's not in our nature to claim things as ours that aren't ours. It's not, in our nature to force our will on people and make them believe in the things that we believe in. It's not in our nature to try to rewrite people's DNA. Like we're not by nature warlike. By nature, those type of people are warlike. Everywhere the original man and woman has existed all over this world, all we ever brought was clarity, focus, enlightenment, upliftment, focus, center, and elevation. That's all we ever brought to the table was elevation, progression, love. We never brought war, famine, and pestilence anywhere we ever lived. That's why they despise us so much. Next order of business. Narrative Podcast is a positive space. Like I said, I use this to promote positivity, encourage encouragement, positive reinforcement, encourage positive reinforcement, complimenting our people, not denigrating, shaming, and gossiping or slandering. This is a gossip, slander-free zone. There's plenty of other mediums and platforms dedicated to that, but however, it's my personal philosophy. I believe, gossip is destroying us as a people, and we definitely can do without it. Another thing I want to point out very quickly is that, sometimes I deliver commentary, and when I'm delivering my commentary on current issues, trending issues, it's never for the, to boost the algorithm or to get my clicks and CPMs. This is basically to put things into perspective from our perspective, because the media go out of their way to have us looking and sounding crazy. As the old saying goes, if you don't tell your own story, your story will be told for you. And that's why I deliver commentary. I'm telling our story because the media goes out of their way to make us look as horrendous as they possibly can. So, so anytime I bring up a famous person's name, it's never, to shame them or denigrate them. It's just to explain why that negative thing happened within our community, to illustrate a point. And the main point that I always try to keep everything centralized around is, yes, we have our in-house issues that we need to work on. Yes, we, do things to each other we shouldn't be doing to each other, but here's why we do the things that we do to each other that we shouldn't be doing to each other. You know, the overlying factor always is, anytime you trace it back, is, you know, the systemic thing. Like, we've been programmed and conditioned to receive each other like that, to respond to each other like that. And it just automatically clicks in and takes over, you know, and, you know, that's how we always bump heads and have all these misunderstandings. It's because we've been programmed and conditioned to, by the powers that be, to have these little, you know, misunderstandings, and ends up flaring up into full-fledged violence. So last but not least, one more thing. This is a time-sensitive platform. I try not to exceed 1 hour per broadcast, and my reason being is because, you know, this is an all audio platform, and I'm not trying to bore you guys to sleep. I'm trying to keep my listening audience attentive and captivated and entertained, and I can't do that if I'm just droning on and rambling. So to help me from, to prevent myself from going down long rabbit holes, you know, I've just basically focused on just keeping it plain, you know, getting right to, you know, my topics. Like, in this format, I have speaking points. Everything that I want to discuss, I have speaking points for them, and I try to time each speaking point before, you know, going on to a new subject. And basically, like that, it's just streamlined, it's efficient. You don't have to clear your entire schedule to listen to an episode of the Narrative Podcast. I appeal to all, you know, intellects, you know, wherever you're at intellectually. I appeal to that audience. I'm not shooting over anybody's head, and I'm also not dumbing myself down. I'm just like right in between. And, you know, like I said, I keep it very lighthearted. You know, I try to add as much levity as possible to my content, and keep it very entertaining and very interesting, and try to captivate my listening audience by just keeping it short, sweet, and to the point. And last but not least, I refer to my target listening audience. I know you kept on hearing me say it all throughout the synopsis. Original people. I refer to our people. Black people, African American, whatever you refer, Negro, nigga, whatever you call yourself trying to refer to us as. You know, on my platform, the Narrative Podcast, I refer to our people as original people, and I do this for two reasons. Reason number one, the historical significance of it. Historically, we were here thousands of years before every other civilization on the planet. Also, we invented pretty much every modern day invention you can think of. You can trace it back to us, even though, you know, the other man got the credit for it. Like, it was us. We invented it. Especially everything that they teach you in school about the American Industrial Revolution. Like, they didn't invent nothing. That was all, you know, invented by slaves. Like, every single last bit of it. Trust and believe. So that's on the historical part. And the sub point that I want to tack on to that is, you know, while we're speaking about our original history often, you know, gets misconstrued. They keep on perpetuating this false narrative that slavery was like the most important part of our existence, and our existence began with slavery, and it was an integral part of who we are as a people, when really it wasn't just like a minor little bump in the road, an extremely gory bump in the road. It was very barbarous, it was very brutal, it was very savage, and it destroyed us. It broke us mentally, physically, and spiritually, but it was not an integral part of our history. And like I said, we were here, thousands of years before anybody else on the planet. Everybody came from us. We birthed civilization. We were here on every single corner of the globe, like every landmass in the world. There was already a large concentration of us. Like, we didn't get to all them places on slave boats. While slavery did happen, the majority of us, was already there, especially here in the America. In the America, the majority of us was already here. Yes, they went and got some slaves, but they didn't just keep on for hundreds of years, just keep on going back to the continent of Africa, going to get African slaves. That don't even make sense when you think about it. There's no nautical records to support that. They probably did, as far as like going to the continent of Africa, running slaves through chattel slavery. It probably went on for like 20 to 30 years max, but they keep on telling that lie. It just went on hundreds of years, when in reality, all the darker complected people in every part of the world, everywhere, was already located there, but they told them they was black and they enslaved them. So like, when they talking about, when the pilgrims came over here on the Mayflower and did all them horrible things to the Native American, they're really talking about our people, the original indigenous natives to this land. The lighter complected tribes, those are like the Eurasians. They came from other places. They're like really kind of just white in nature. They're not, the real natives, the ones that got the hotels and the ones that get the monthly check from our government. They're not even the real natives of this land. That's how they keep on skewing and warping the narrative about our origin and our nationality and all that. But like I said, slavery was a real thing. Most of us, were already indigenously located everywhere in the world. Like, there's no such thing as an Afro anything. So there's no such thing as an Afro Latino. There's no such thing as an Afro Cuban. There's no such thing as an Afro Asian, Afro Chinese, Afro Japanese, Afro Brazilian, Afro whatever. There's no such thing as that. If they're of dark complexion, and the government's calling them Afro, that means that they was just already there, and that government subjugated those darker complected people. But anyway, that's just what I want to meant by historical accuracy of our people, that we were here originally. The next thing, the reason why I refer to our people as original people, is to unify us as a people, because there are many different types of us. We hail from many different land masses. We believe in many different ideologies, spiritualities, spiritual practices, just anything to, to classify a people, to divide a people. Like, we have that within our community. But the one, common thread that binds us all together is that we are all original. We all possess melanin, and we can all trace our original lineage back to the original point of origin for all civilization. Now there's an open debate, like, where was the original point of origin for all civilization? What was Africa before they started calling it Africa? What was Egypt before the colonizers called it Egypt? What was it? Where was it located? And the debate is, it was over here. But anyway, we can argue about that later on, but let's get to the unity thing. We're all original people. So yeah, that's pretty much everything you need to know about the Narrative Podcast to keep up with the uptake. If I glazed over anything, or if you still have something you're not quite sure about, something that puzzles you, I'm over 300 episodes in. So just download this episode and our previously recorded episodes of the Narrative Podcast, wherever you get your podcast information from. Having said that, with no further ado, I'm going to dive right on into the content with my first section of the Narrative Podcast. My first section of the Narrative Podcast is called the Highlight section. In this section, what I'm doing is I'm highlighting successful entrepreneurs who just happen to be either an original man or an original woman owning and operating their own establishment. And the reason why I'm highlighting entrepreneurs in the highlight section here on the Narrative Podcast is because, we're lacking frames of references about, entrepreneurs. So the very few frames of references that we have about entrepreneurs are tainted with degeneracy, because they come to us via scripted reality television show. And on scripted reality television shows, the producers of these series try to still depict our images and our likenesses, in the worst possible light, for, entertainment, for the views and all that, for the ratings and all that. So they always want to capture us in rare form. They always want to show us getting in physical altercations with each other on camera, cursing each other out, having relations on camera, indulging in alcohol and narcotics on camera, just behaving like nobody attempted to raise us. That's how they want to present us to the world on these scripted reality television shows. So the purpose of the highlight section of the Narrative Podcast is to bypass that by giving you the highlights of an entrepreneur's journey. Like, how did this original man and original woman, obtain their own business? Like, how did they, acquire their own business? At what point did they say, I want to just do something I love and be in business for myself and do for self, and not be dependent on, a 9-to-5 job and being subservient to a 9-to-5, lifestyle. Because, again, they use this media to believe that, we can't be business owners. Like, they want to program and condition us into our minds. It's impossible to start your own business, and it's not. So I'm giving you a positive frame of reference that if you want to start your own business, to be a business owner, it can be done. You can do it. This person did it, and I walk you through their journey. I tell you, like, basically just give you their bio story, their background, how they came up with the funding, the idea, the funding, a little bit about their bio, where they was born, what school they went to, how they came up with their idea, a typical production day, and stuff like that. Just things you would need to know about an entrepreneur. That's what I provide in the highlight section of the Narrative Podcast. My qualifying factors that I use to select a business or an entrepreneur to highlight the highlight section are like the following. Like, A, they're an original man or original woman. That's like first and foremost. B, they hire their own, like train and hire their own. C, promote their own. D, they either, they do something for the community. They either have their own nonprofit organization, or they pay into another nonprofit organization, or they provide some type of service that the community that they're rooted in benefits from, whether it's a youth program, whether it's providing services to disenfranchised people in that area, whether it's providing education, such as financial literacy or job seekers sources, stuff like that. And the last qualifying factor, they line up with my theme. And currently, my theme is nationally recognized or observed holidays. So that's what I use to, my measuring tool when I'm selecting businesses and entrepreneurs to highlight the highlight section of the Narrative Podcast. So, having said that, the national holiday, because it's like a lot of them, but the one that stuck out in my mind that I didn't know existed. So that's the coolest thing about living in the digital information age. You can just type anything into the browser you're curious about, and it'll pop right up if there's any data about it. Sometimes you just get a blank stare because it doesn't know what you're talking about. But so the national observed holiday that I'm focusing on today on the Narrative Podcast is Free Comic Book Day. That's right. It's nationally observed. Today is Saturday, May 4th, and it's National Free Comic Book Day. And the businesses that I will be highlighting on the Narrative Podcast highlight section is comic book stores owned and operated by original men or women. I think it's just mentioned that, there are literally thousands of, comic books stores owned and operated by our people, but, I just try to select the ones with the kind of most interesting story to me. This is my podcast, what catches my eye, which I find, the most interesting. And to be honest, also, people that have a bio, because a lot of entrepreneurs that I try to highlight that don't have a bio, they just, you punch in black owned this, black owned that, and it doesn't have a bio on the homepage. It doesn't tell you, their story, how they started that business, how they grew up, where they grew up, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Those are all the types of details I try to provide in the highlight section, but I just can't find it all the time. But anyway, without any further ado, the first business that I will be highlighting in the highlight section of the Narrative Podcast is a business called the Mind's Eye Comics, or Mind's Eye Comics, excuse me. It was established in 1998 by a brother by the name of Eric Childs. Eric is from Burnsville, Minnesota. Basically, he's always been a comic book fanatic, but let me slow it down a little bit. First of all, we don't call them comic books around here. They are graphic novels, okay? It's literature, it's arts. Don't ever call them comics. Okay. Now that we got that out. So, he's always been a large collector of, graphic novels. He's always into all forms of it. And then, of course, because he's an original man, of course, he gravitated to the ones that, focus on us, telling our story. You want to see that visual representation, and we have a lot of comic books out there. It took, graphic novels to now to finally get some, diversity within their mythos to, appeal to our people. And, that's the unique thing about his graphic novel store is that all the graphic novels that in the store, pretty much appeal to our people, original people. And original people also includes, they say the new thing is BIPOC. But Spanish people, they're original people too. Asian people, they're original people too, because they all can be traced back to the original point of origin for our civilization, which is us. But anyway, that's who he caters to. It says black and brown, but I just want to clarify. So, the only thing really separating us is the languages. We are the same people. The language and the culture, like, the food and the language you speak, that's the only thing really that's different about us. Physical things, because y'all all got our DNA in you, whether you want to concede to it or not. But anyway, his business is located in Burnsville, in the Burnsville Shopping Center Mall at 1178 Burnsville Center Streets 1030. And then you got another location, Burnsville, Minnesota 5506, 200 East Traveler Streets 105, Burnsville, Minnesota. And then of course you can go to mindseyecomics.com if you want to purchase a graphic novel from Mind's Eye online. So let's give it up to our brother. Oh wait, I kind of skipped his bio. I had some more in the notes, so yeah, so like he'd always been fascinated, reading comics, but also he wanted to be an advocate to promote literacy within our community, and he wanted to, create an initiative where he's appealing to the youth. So he created a program for the youth to help them become avid readers, because reading is essential. And he wanted to be basically to spark that love of reading within our community for our children. And graphic novels is one of the best ways to do it. That's why so many educators now allow students to read the graphic novels, as long as they're reading, because reading, increases brain activity, heightens your senses, your cognition, your memory when you read, like all that. But that's all that I had in the notes as far as why he decided to open his own graphic novel store. Is basically he wanted to steer youth into the direction of reading, and then he also has a wide array of graphic novels that depicts, our history, our rich history. They also got, of course, you have to tell, the slave part of it, but, there was a lot of heroes within our community, birthed out of that, so, he has a whole lot of graphic novels to commemorate our civil rights leaders and, people from that era, from slavery to, civil rights to the Jim Crow era and all that in modern day. People are just advocating for our rights today. All right, so without any further ado, let's join into giving our brother Eric Childs a more narrative podcast round of applause for Mind's Eye Comics. I hate that word, but it's literally in the title, and there's nothing I can do about it. But anyway. Today, you guys. Normally I have anywhere from 3 to 6 ones to share. But I just decided to just keep it super light because I just did a broadcast on Friday and I didn't upload it until like midnight. So I was kind of tired. So I started broadcasting a little bit after 10. Took a little break, took a little nap, looked up, and it was after midnight, so I didn't upload it to all the platforms until midnight. So technically, I'm giving you guys 2 Saturday broadcasts, but I didn't upload my Friday weekday one until like midnight. So that's why I decided to just don't do 3 today in my full episode of the Narrative Podcast. But the next business I will be highlighting, the highlight section here on the Narrative Podcast is a business called Gulf Coast Cosmos. It was established in 2021 by a brother by the name of Byron Candle and a sister by the name of Charmaine Fury. It was they created this space while they were both in college, pursuing their respective degrees. master's degrees in business. They were both like attending a business school, but of course they was into graphic novels. So after graduating, Byron applied for a small business grant at the Emancipate Economic Development Council in Texas. So the address for this, of course, you can go to online to Gulf Coast Cosmos.com if you want to purchase a graphic novel. .co, excuse me, it's not .com, it's .co. Gulf Coast Cosmos Books Co. Yeah, it's real weird, but just type it in the browser and then just click it, but it'll say Gulf Coast Cosmos Book Co. But yeah, that's how you go to get, purchase a book online. They've only been around for a short amount of time. They opened up pretty much in the pandemic, so but they're still here. They're still in business. And they just basically wanted to create a safe space for original people that enjoy graphic novels. That community is like really getting popular now. I think the buzz term for them is called Blurred, so it's like a real big Blurred community now. But we've always been active in supporting graphic novels ever since they've been around. So we just, unfortunately, a whole lot of artists, graphic novel artists, didn't start acknowledging us until, darn near the turn of the century. But they got a physical location as well. It's 2306 Stewart Streets. So yeah, it's located in Texas at 2306 Stewart Street, Houston, U.S. What is the area code? Well, it doesn't say the area code, but it's in Texas. You will figure it out. If you live in Texas or visit in Texas. So yeah. And the telephone number is, I just had it. And the telephone number is 134-418-9040, and that is Gulf Coast Cosmos Book Company, or Book Co. And the address, web address, was stores.comichub.com/Gulf Coast Comics. So I told y'all all about, so I just literally had to punch it up again. They also are on Facebook, and you can go to the online if you follow them on Facebook, and yeah, they're also on LinkedIn. And where else? And then they're also on Instagram. Comics at GCC Comics. On X, they're Gulf Coast Cosmos Comics at GCC Comics. And then you can just type it in the YouTube browser and you should see a video pop up. Alright, moving right along, spotlight section. Oh wait, we're going a little prematurely. You know, we gotta give him some love. Let's clap it up for our brother Byron Campbell and our sister Charmaine Fury. All right, so moving right along. Now we're transitioning into the spotlight section. Spotlight section here on the Narrative Podcast. What this section is about is basically just I'm reinforcing positive reinforcement. Celebrating the accomplishments of a prominent figure within our community, the original people community, that's either doing something impactful or doing something positive to, uplift, educate us, uplift us, edify us in some type of way, whether it's, through philanthropy, through, stewardness, doing something within the community, some type of advocacy, some type of activism, just something positive. And the reason why I feel the need to create a spotlight section is because I believe, or I know for a fact we don't celebrate each other nearly enough. Or now, let me catch myself. Us celebrating our, accomplishments aren't, widely received by other platforms. They always just want to show us engaging into, denigrating each other, tearing each other down, saying something bad about each other. That's how they always want to portray us. You don't really ever hear too much of us exchanging compliments. So what I want to attempt to do with the spotlight section of the Narrative Podcast is basically to normalize acknowledging somebody and saying something nice about somebody. Saying something nice about it. Responsibly using your digital platform to say something nice about a brother or sister, instead of, name calling, instead of, hurling insults and all that, clapping back and just be like, hey, I like this. I'm a fan of this. You know what I mean? Just normalize that, because we've been programmed and conditioned to believe, being negative is the only way you can garner money online. Like, you can still get your money and not feed into the negativity too. So having said that, I'm also go ahead on and say this. I created the wave for spotlighting, because before I added the spotlight section to my podcast, the Narrative Podcast, nobody was spotlighting anybody. Now, every time, somebody's on a talk show, on a podcast, a series or whatever, and they have a guest, they'll say, today we'll be spotlighting so and such and such. And nobody was spotlighting anybody until I added the spotlight section to my podcast, the Narrative Podcast. So, I just had to put that out there. As the old saying goes, imitation is the best form of flattery. I see so many people spotlighting, adding spotlights to, their content now that I, kind of like revolutionized that. Kind of makes you feel good because I still don't really have any just overt support of my podcast, but I know who supports me, who listens to me, like all the types of, famous people that listen to me, because how I know, I listen to them and they, incorporate things I say on my podcast into their content, not only the things that I say, the way I say the things that I say. And that's a quiet nod to me to let me know that they're listening. So they couldn't even came up with that if they don't, never heard of or don't listen to my podcast. But, I'm not in it for recognition. Because if I was, I would have quit a long time ago. But I just wanted to make it plain, who created, the way for spotlighting, and so many people doing it now. And, respect. Thank you for supporting me and my platform. Even though you don't shout me out publicly, and you're like, I know you're listening. You're listening. I know you're listening. So we're going to just keep it, we're going to keep it cool. And, a wink is as good as a nod. So what's understood ain't got to be explained. I know who mess with me. They know they mess with me. But anyway. So yeah, I just gotta the reason why I create the spotlight is just to normalize, acknowledging each other and giving each other our roses. So yeah, I started that.
You are now listening to the Narrative Podcast with Halsey Allen. The Narrative Podcast is changing the narrative one episode at a time.
In a real way. But anyway, so we're going to just get on into it. So this week's spotlight goes to a brother by the name of Aaron Dworkin. Aaron Dworkin was born Aaron Paul Dworkin on September 11th. On September 11th, 1970, in Monticello, New York. So he's an American educator and renowned violinist. There's a lot of great people in our community who play the violin. Like, I was really blown away that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, he plays a mean violin. Like, brings tears to your eyes. He was an entertainer. But anyway. So he was born in New York. His parents were also educators as well. So he comes from the lineage of educating. So, teaching is in his blood. He was pretty much a principal for like 20 years. They moved away from New York at an early age and went to he moved away from New York at an early age and went to Manhattan went to Hershey, Pennsylvania, excuse me. He was in New York, so we moved from, New York to Hershey, Pennsylvania. His parents got jobs at Hershey Medical Center, and he attended the Peabody Institute and Philadelphia School of Music. By his teens, he was performing regularly with the Hershey Youth Orchestra and the Harrisburg Youth Symphony. Then after that, he attended the Interclan Arts Academy. Then he attended Penn State, where he became a concert master. Then he decided to move to Michigan. He worked until he obtained enough funds to attend the University of Michigan. He graduated from the University of Michigan School of Music, Theater, and Dance with a bachelor's in 1997. And and then shortly after that, he became an educator. And as an educator, he noticed, and classical musician, he noticed there wasn't a lot of representation of our people in the field of classical music anymore. And it's probably because, with the birth of hip hop, so that was kind of a double-edged sword, even though many of hip-hop artists incorporate all forms of samples into their music, and a lot of it in early hip-hop contained, samples of classical music. And in their live concerts, they would have live guitars, live bass, live violins, and percussion in the early days, in the early and mid 80s. But it kind of got phased out, just strictly with the DJ. But so he eventually started this program to, inspire the appreciation of, classical music from our community. Or he created a nonprofit organization called the Sphinx Organization. And the Sphinx Organization basically is an organization dedicated to teaching the youth appreciation for classical music. They have an initiative. They have all kinds of scholarships for students to attend, to pay for the classical instruments. They do all kinds of field trips. They have all kinds of fun, playing the music, doing activities. Of course, he's an educator, so of course he's, creating a educational curriculum for it. Also, with reading and mathematics and, of course, the arts, all rolled up into one, teaching them life skills to change their trajectory in life, and the platform to get, jobs as a musician. Because another false narrative about musicians is, the false starving artist narrative. Because a lot of parents don't want their children to be musicians when they grow up. They say there ain't no money in it. That's a starving artist trade, and that's just not true. But to find out more about the his nonprofit organization called the Sphinx Program. Go to sphinx.org. It was established in 2018. And join me in giving our brother Aaron Dworkin a warm narrative podcast round of applause for the Sphinx initiative on sphinx.org, or the Sphinx Organization. That's what's the name of the nonprofit. It's called the Sphinx Organization. And the web address is sphinx.org. My bad. All right, moving right along. Next topic here on the Narrative Podcast is called the Health and Wellness section. In this section, it is just how it sounds. I'm focusing on health and wellness. And the reason why I'm focusing on health and wellness is because our people, my people, need it the most. Original people. A quick misnomer. Anybody from any background, anybody with any type practices, any type of, religion, spirituality, certain community is more than free to, listen to my content and participate in the content. But just know that all the content presented here on the Narrative Podcast is aimed and directed at my people, original people. And out of all my, sections that are geared towards my people, this section is geared towards my people the most because, my people need it the most. This section is, it's self-explanatory. I'm doing just how it sounds. I'm sharing tips about health and wellness to provide us total body wellness, mentally, physically, and spiritually, because that's all the areas that are being attacked. We're being attacked. We're having wars. Tongue-tied. War waged upon us, and we're being attacked physically, mentally, and spiritually. So in this section, the health and wellness section, what I'm doing is, I'm providing health and wellness tips to help our people armor up in all the areas that we're being attacked. And it's not a conspiracy theory, it's reality, unfortunately. Unfortunately, the powers that be are putting things in the air, water supply, food that directly, impact our unique physiology in a devastating way. The agenda is to unalive all of us. They're also attacking us mentally with the media, constantly, manipulating information, false information at that, constantly bombarding us with negativity, constantly, programming and conditioning our minds with negativity, slowly trying to break down our resistance and tolerance, trying to basically desensitize us when we see or hear something violent. We just so desensitized of violence, we don't even stop and think like, hey, that's wrong. They're robbing us of our innate ability to discern, what's wrong, our moral compass by desensitizing us to violence, desensitizing us to degeneracy. That's how we're being attacked mentally. And then, like I said, I already told you how we're being attacked physically, and then they're also attacking us spiritually. There's a lot of just darkness out there, and it's feeding on our essence. And for the bright and sunny people that believe we are all God's children and You know, we're all one, we're all alike. There is no differences in the world. We all, you know, bleed the same blood. And, you know, that is true to a certain extent. But I say this to you all that believe that. You have to believe that the Creator doesn't make any mistakes. He created us all different for a reason. For, you know, diversity, for variety. So no, we're not all the same. We all have different cultural views, political views, you know, on the physical side of it, different dietetic needs. Like, you know, within your culture, you can eat a specific food every single day and nothing bad will happen to you. But whereas like I eat, you know, what's, you know, indicative of your dietetic needs, it will, you know, harm me and quite possibly I perish trying to follow your diet. Same thing applies to spirituality. Because if, you know, the Creator didn't make us all the same, we would all be worshiping the same. So how do you explain all these denominations of Christianity? All these different interpretations of Christianity? How do you explain all these different interpretations of Islam? How do you, like, you know, all these different religious and spiritual practices? We all perceive it from a different perspective. We all connect to the source in a different way. We're all different. We got to acknowledge the differences. So just stop that we are all the same rhetoric, because no, we're not. We're not all the same. You know, many of us that do not possess the melanin, you know, sun is your biggest enemy. They make your skin peel and flake and quite possibly give you cancer the longer you're exposed to it. Whereas my people, melanated people, it strengthens and rejuvenates us. It actually reverses illnesses within our bodies. So no, we're not the same. So that's why, and you will find out these key differences in the health and wellness section here on the Narrative Podcast, acknowledging the differences within our people, you know, mentally, physically, spiritually, just accommodating that need. So, for example, to accommodate the physical need, I usually share a tip about the health benefits of a fruit, vegetable, herb extract elixir that you can either ingest or apply topically to improve your physical health and well-being, or some type of physical exercise you can perform to improve your physical health and well-being. And then on the mental side of it, like I said, we're all different. We all have different, you know, emotional triggers. Our minds, you know, function on a different frequency culturally. You know, just we think differently. Like we have these unspoken bonds from culture to culture. Like, you know, in the Spanish culture, they know what the chancla means. Like in Asian culture, they know what the chopstick means. Within original culture, we know what that cast iron skillet means, you know. We all have different, you know, mental triggers. So like when I'm giving mental health and wellness tips, I'm giving tips on how to improve, you know, your mental well-being, you know, how to, you know, guard your mind against mental fatigue and mental duress. And I'll probably be giving tips such as, you know, like meditation techniques, mindfulness, mindful breathing, making you aware of, you know, your emotional triggers, how to ground out negative energy, things that you can do to improve your, mind functions, and watch what you're, reading and watching, that sort of thing, for my health and wellness tips, for my mental health and wellness tips. And then on the spiritual side of it, of course, spiritual practices, praying, meditating, fasting, things, how to recognize a spiritual attack, how to guard against a spiritual attack, things of that nature. And then every once in a blue moon, I might, talk about something esoteric, something metaphysical, something like that for a curveball, every once in a blue moon. But today is a mental health day, a mental health tip. And today's mental health tip is just super sweet, super short and to the point. For our people, original people. The mental health tip for today is to commune with nature. Take a communion to nature. Take time to leave the tech behind, power down your phone, power down your tablet, and go somewhere outside and be surrounded with nature. Sit under a tree. Kick your shoes off and, barefoot, touch the grass with your feet. Make physical contact with something natural, a tree, a leaf, a branch, something in nature. Because being original people, we are, directly connected and rooted to nature. And we need to do that frequently. We're the only beings on this planet whose physiology mimics the photosynthesis process in plants. Nobody else's does but us. So we always need to be in constant contact with nature to improve our overall health, is what I'm trying to say. And there's many benefits to it. The more you're in touch and in tune and in contact with nature, your cognition will improve, your motor skills will improve, your breathing will improve, your memory will improve, everything will improve. So make time to connect with nature. And that's the health and wellness tip this week here on the Narrative Podcast. My next section is the speaking point section, and I've already kind of said that at the beginning of the broadcast. When I'm talking about the speaking point section, it's really just me breaking down, current events, what's trending in the media, what's currently going on in the world, things of that nature. And the reason why I do that is basically to just break it down from our perspective, tell our story, why did this negative thing happen, what's that mean for us, how do we perceive this type of situation. But every once in a blue moon, when I don't have anything to talk about, I'll give a quick PSA and just something I observe we need to start doing more of, or something we need to start doing less of as a people. And today's one of them PSA days. And so for the comment, my speaking point in the speaking point section here on the Narrative Podcast is, we need to exercise, or we need to give our mouths less exercise. So my speaking point of the day is just start exercising the no comment option. Because a lot of times, within our community, we kind of tend to make mountains out of molehills because we want to get the last word. and we escalate a situation that ain't even really all that serious just by never, inserting your opinion or having something to say about it in the first place. As the old saying goes, the lessons we learn in childhood is priceless. And something they teach you all the way back in kindergarten that we kind of leaves us as we become older is just like, if you don't have something nice to say, don't say anything at all. And I think that is a lesson to all our people that live in our community, especially our celebrities. That's how they end up getting in fights and getting unalive, because it starts online, and it really don't have to even go there, because it usually stems from they go to somebody's platform, they're in the interview, they say something, somebody asks you, which is like most a big interviewer trick. Because ain't nobody asked them, and the internet ain't saying this happened, X, Y, Z. Well, what happened with this? And they'll say what happened with that, or, their feelings on it, and they'll probably say something about another person. And that, whatever they say, that might be their authentic feelings. That might be how they truly feel about it. But, you don't gotta always, have an answer for something. Sometimes you got to take the least path to resistance. Sometimes you just got to just not say nothing. Like, the truth speaks for itself, and this truth speaks in volumes, and the truth don't need any help from you. Especially when somebody's saying something greasy about you. You ain't got to clap back all the time. Just, leave them alone, ignore them, and let their own devices do them in. That's how you win. So the speaking point of the day is, exercise that no comment. Everything doesn't need to be a comment. You don't need to talk behind everything. For the non-celebrities, the bloggers, when you're in that comment section, and, we always want to write these little theses, theories and all that. You ain't got to comment on everything. Like you legitimately don't have to get in that comment box and start typing and joining the conversation with everybody else. You don't have to do that. You can just like scroll and read other people's comments and be entertained. And definitely don't be trying to correct nobody in the comment section. Like, you misspelled this word. Or, or trying to challenge somebody else's perspective. Like that really takes my breath away when people do that. It'd be like 8 million people in the comment section. You scroll past all them 8 million comments, but then you want to comment under my comment. Like, I don't know. So the speaking point of the day here on the Narrative Podcast is just to exercise the no comment option and just don't comment. Last but not least, here on the Narrative Podcast section is the final word of the day. The final word of the day is section is just basically a philosophical word, a gem, a pearl of wisdom, whatever you want to call it. Something insightful, something motivational, something inspirational, something that would inspire you to, just sit back and ponder. Something wise, a wise word to just resonate with you. Now that you know what the final word of the day is, let me get on to it. Final word of the day here on the Narrative Podcast is love yourself. If you love yourself unconditionally, you will be less prone to be fazed by things like going on outside of you that you can't control. You'll be less prone to get drawn into somebody else's storm or how another person feels about themselves, and you'll be less likely to catch strays from an unhappy person because you're so in love with yourself. You can't even notice negative things happening because you're taking pride in yourself. You're acknowledging your accomplishments, being your own cheerleader, minding your own business, basically. When you love yourself, you stay minding your own business. You don't have to, give other people little tips and tidbits and worry about what they're doing when you're hyper focused on yourself, loving yourself, practicing self-care, proper body hygiene, just being good to yourself, exercising, rewarding yourself, rewarding yourself with things that won't harm you, but just acknowledging all the good you do and being there for yourself, because a lot of times, sometimes we just hyper focus on being there for somebody else so much because we feel this other person is in need, but the thing they need is love, and the way you project the love is by loving yourself, and then they'll feed off that energy. You don't have to just shower them and drape them in a cloak of protection when you love yourself, because they'll just automatically feel the love when you're in the room, and they'll match that energy, and then they'll start loving themselves too. Well, that's it, and that's all. Thank you all for listening to this edition of the Narrative Podcast. As I said, I'm going to start broadcasting as often as I possibly can during the week on an effort to put positive content out in the atmosphere, because there's just so much negative stuff. So I'm taking the vow to try to, broadcast more during the weekday, because before that, I was just only broadcasting one time during the weekday and, once on the weekend. So the best way to keep up with the latest episode of the Narrative Podcast is to follow me on X, or follow me on YouTube or X, because this platform that I'm on broadcasts directly to both of those mediums, X and YouTube. So just follow me on either of those two. Halsey Allen on both of them. Halsey Allen at I Stay Good on X. On YouTube, just follow my page, hit the subscribe button, notification all, and you will be alerted on the newest episode of the Narrative Podcast. For Twitter or X, just follow me on X, and I guess you will get alerts. I'm still kind of not too proficient with X. I don't know how the alert system works, but you follow me on either of those two mediums and you will be automatically notified on the latest upload of the Narrative Podcast, wherever you get your podcast information from. And remember to download this episode and all previously recorded episodes of the Narrative Podcast. I think, and then also support my book that I've written. I wrote a book titled The Black Card. So go to poetizer.com. They have a virtual online bookstore. Purchase my book titled The Black Card. The Black Card basically is just a snapshot, a retrospective, if you will, about us as a people. It's an all-encompassing look at our lives, how we carry ourselves, all the nuances about our culture, positive and negative. It's very creative. If you like poetry, you'll definitely love that book. Beautifully written, I must say so myself. Do yourself a tremendous favor. Go over to poetizer.com and purchase the Black Card. They have a virtual online bookstore. That's where you will purchase the book. Poetizer.com is basically a community for writers, poets, people that do composition, short stories, you name it. That's what that platform is all about. But do yourself a favor, purchase my book, The Black Card, or get your Black Card revoked. Next order of business is I have written a book titled, I have a blog on blogger.com called Halsey's Poetry Corner. And the blog the link to it is www.mrhalseysblogs.com, and the tagline for it is Halsey's Poetry Corner, poetry with a passion, poetry for all occasions. And when you read one of my poems, you'll find out precisely why. Basically, it's a collection of my poetry that I've accumulated over the years. It's basically a blog. I use it just to express myself. The unique thing about that, the poems featured on that blog, is that they're all spontaneously written in the moment. You know, I didn't contemplate on the content. I didn't contemplate on the subject matter. I didn't contemplate on what I was going to title each piece. It's just completely organic, kinetic, written in the moment. It's comparable to a freestyle rap. If we're talking hip hop, it's comparable. If we're talking poetry, it's comparable to a spoken word poem, because that's just like how on the spot, you know, that poetry on that blog is. So head on over to blogger.com and, you know, check it out. The best way to help me with that is to share either the link to Halsey's Poetry Corner or poems featured on Halsey's Poetry Corner blog across all platforms. That's it, and that's all. Thank you for listening to this edition of the Narrative Podcast. I said gas. Podcast. And keep your ear to the podcast Osphere, wherever you get your podcast information from, for my new weekday episodes of the Narrative Podcast premiering this week. And of course, a full episode this weekend for the Narrative Podcast. Thank you all for listening. Sending love, light, healing energy to, you know, all to support my channel. And thank you to everybody that's been tuning in on a regular basis and supporting me and promoting me. Thank you. Appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. Tune in next time, guys. I'm Halsey Allen. I'm changing the narrative one episode at a time. And I'm asking you to help me change the narrative by becoming a narrator. And while I'm changing the narrative one episode at a time, you can help me change while I'm changing the narrative on my end one episode at a time. You can help me change the narrative on your end one social media post at a time. Till next time, Halsey Allen, the Narrative Podcast. Signing off, and it's like that.
Make it burn.
listening to the Narrative Podcast with Halsey Allen. The Narrative Podcast is changing the narrative one episode at a time.